Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to Forza Horizon 5. I've been away from the game for quite a while. I'm now back, and I've started doing some drag race tuning, utilizing the knowledge I gained off of learning how to do a wheelie tune. I am now making rear-wheel drive wheelie drag tunes for my cars, and I just want to kind of share with you what I've discovered as far as tuning is concerned. So one of the things I like to use to actually do tuning in this game for drag racing are some event maps made by the Mad Electrician. Thanks to him, he has made some anything goes type quarter-mile tracks. What's the most important is that it has timers. Because it has timers, you can now actually test your car's performance in the quarter mile. That doesn't necessarily translate to the fastest half mile. That's a separate bit of tuning on the top end of the gear. But the basic concepts of having a fast quarter mile helping you to have a faster half mile should still apply. So the tuning of the car itself, one of the first things to understand is most tunes, whether it's shear coded or most guys that you're racing that feels that they're actually tuning for drag racing tend to use manual with clutch without launch control. The reason being that manual with clutch, if the clutch works properly, allows you to do launch control at different RPMs based on when you hit the clutch. One of the biggest problem with people, and it is the issue I had before I quit the game 3 years ago, was I couldn't get manual with clutch to work right. I can never get the clutch to catch. It just rev, or it does like a low RPM launch. So years ago when I tried to drag race, the performance was horrible. What I found out in the end was that you need to use a default layout to make that work right. People who use custom layouts, like I did, couldn't get the manual with clutch to work correctly, and that is a very frustrating issue. But that default, most of the default settings, pick one you like, should work properly with the manual with clutch. Once you get to that point, you will build a car. I'm not going to get into builds. One of the quick way to get a build for parts, go find a drag tune that looks fast, download it, and it'll make you install all the parts that person selected. So you don't have to go pick it out yourself individually. Cancel the tune, the parts that you purchased stays, go install them, and boom, you got yourself a set up drag car. Now you can tune it. So I use that periodically to quickly just buy all the parts and then I just reinstall them. And also it gives me an idea what engines people are picking, so you don't have to go figure out which engine is the fastest. So most important thing to tune in any car for drag racing and wheelie both, it comes down to three things: gearing, springs, dampening. These are the three most important. Differential comes into play for some cars because it just refused to grip, and sometimes you should lower acceleration differential lock because it allows the tires not to spin as much and you may be able to get a wheelie out of the car. That's a last resort. Generally you want to tune gearing, springs, dampening. How does it all work? Well, gearing, you want the most aggressive possible gearing that allows you to hit between 60 to 100 miles per hour in first gear with full grip, no slip, and wheelie launch if possible. So an aggressive first gear, but not too aggressive, or you're gonna not be able to really make use of the time with the wheelie because you lift and your gear's done and you have to shift. Too far out, the car won't lift. You're losing too much power, so you want it aggressive enough. Once you set up first gear, second gear should be as aggressive as possible as well to leverage the acceleration. But then by third and fourth gear, you're basically tuning to try to get the fastest acceleration you can to the mile per hour you're looking for at that point. And same goes for the higher gears. There is an interplay between spring ratio, gear, and slip. The higher the spring rate here in the rear, usually we recommend higher for base wheelie tunes, you're going to have to watch that the tire is going to spin. One of the first ways to try to reduce tire spin is by lowering this number here. The front, you always want low spring rate because you want it soft so that it bounces, but the rear you can lower as well so it doesn't go crazy. Dampening is another tricky one. There are two ways to dampen. You can dampen with these two for some cars, versus these two for other cars. Play with both options, set them up to high, and then sometimes it works better lower, sometimes it works better higher. But generally speaking, the key is making sure that you can get the car to put out the wheelie level that you want. If you're lifting too much too hard, usually increase the front rebound will reduce the lift so you can better control the wheelie. This bump stiffness can also impact how the car lands, and this is actually also important because let's say you lift up really well, then you come down, you bounce, that's going to hurt your run. So both in the end are applicable to getting a good run out of the car. This number is just a reference. It's not very accurate. It bounces around depending on the day. So don't worry about this as much, but obviously if it is showing a pretty low number, that's probably not going to hurt you. But your main concern is still grip. So leave that 100. Anti-roll bars, play with it. If you see the numbers change lower, leave it. I'm not like a diehard about having it this way or the other way. If it have it this way, it looks good, I'll leave it. If I have it this way, it looks good, I'll leave it. It doesn't, you know, there's no, I'm not as hung up on where I put the anti-roll bars as long as the numbers are still there. Alignment, same thing. What I do is I do put a little bit of negative toe out. So when you adjust toe, right, toe in brings the front tires closer together, increasing stability. This is important because you do want the car to go straight. So I put a little toe in usually in the front. That's just personal thing. I don't think it makes it much of a difference to most people. A lot of people like to put it 0, 0, 0, 0. That's fine too. So once you get all that together, assuming the interplay is proper, the car should launch with a wheelie and drive down the track pretty fast. Then you need to use telemetry to kind of take a look at your situation here. You want to launch the car with full boost. At low RPMs, this car does not have full boost, but at 4800 it does, and that's the RPM we want to launch at without wheel spin. Now, wheel spin depends partially on the temperature and PSI. What I find is if you raise the temperature up and the PSI up, even though everybody put it to 15 PSI, that's mainly because everybody's assuming you're going to heat up your tire in the rear before you run the car, especially for rear-wheel drive. But the optimal PSI seems to be closer to 18, where if let me make sure I'm in the right gear. Okay. No, it's not doing the... Okay. Alright, when you hear that RPM drop, now I got the full... You see it? Now it's doing the launch. So you want that. Once you have that, you can then line up to the line in this particular event lab. You don't want to go over the line because it starts the clock. See how the RPM drops like this? This is, again, that issue with not using default settings. Once you have this launch, if the bumper hits the ground like it just did, that's not good. While it looks awesome, that cost me a few hundreds to maybe possibly close to a tenth of time. Dragging your bumper might be great looking as a wheelie tune, but it's pretty terrible when it comes to actually making a fast drag car. So in that situation, we don't want that. The best way to tweak that down a little is actually moving this up, but you also want to watch that you're not hurting your time here too much. If it does look like it's being impacted negatively, you can always tweak around some of the other settings to see. One of the things to do, but this again risks tire spin, is to start increasing your gearing or the spring rates, right? If you increase the spring rates enough, it's definitely going to show lower time, but increasing it by that much could make it very difficult for the car to hook, but we'll try it anyway. So that's the nuances of tuning. And actually, if you download, the problem with downloading a share code is if you download a share code, that little bit of tweaking you cannot do, right? So let's say you download the share code, you do your tire heat up, and the car keeps spinning a little bit, just a hair, just not hooking the way you think it would. All you have to do really is go and lower that rear spring rate a little bit, and you should be good to go. But you can't do that with the share code tune. So I'd rather give you guys the actual tune so you can just change it as needed. That's my only beef with shortcuts. So this time, notice lift, no bouncing, no issues otherwise, 7.3. That's your difference right there. So the cars do not like any kind of upsetting of the chassis while it's moving forward. Smooth lift, aggressive first gear, smooth lift, smooth landing. Generally speaking, I like to see the wheelie last the entire first gear smoothly. Tends to bring out the best runs out of the car. And assuming all that is already set up, you have a pretty solid quarter mile. You can now take it back to the festival drag strip to tune your top end for the half mile. Since you're not going to really want to mess with the lower end values as much, or your suspension settings, you're going to go back there and you're mostly just going to tweak fourth, fifth, maybe third gear slightly, but you're risking losing some quarter mile time if you tweak the third gear, since we're going through the quarter mile at about third gear. Now, traction grip. This is again my issue. You come to a event lap, it grips great. You come back out here, you have to reheat the tire, because each time you leave somewhere, everything resets. You have cold tires again. So you need to reset your tire. You got to heat it up all over again. So you do that. Oh, look at that. I have that car tuned too. That's a fun car. Actually, that car runs neck and neck with this car. So this will be a good race and test for, if he wants to race, of course. Is he going to race? I think he's going to race. This is perfect way to end the video. We'll do a race and then we'll wrap it up. Oh, well, I didn't get a chance to get ready, but all right. So let's see what the mile per hour is on this. Maybe I'll race him on the way back. 215.91, almost 216 miles per hour. So the quick quarter mile does pay off on the mile per hour on the higher end as well, it looks like. So, but don't forget, I started a little further back at the starting point. That gave me that mile per hour. If you don't do that, you may not have as all right, that one lifted too much because the tires are too hot, but it's okay. Right? Cars that are going to be quicker than you are going to be quicker than you, and cars that are not going to be quicker than you are going to be slower. I don't think that DeLorean's supposed to be quicker. I think he jumped. And that's the other issue with the open world honking drag races. People jump all the time. All right, let's do one last one. And notice we didn't have this issue of lifting too much when we were racing in the event lap, but here it does lift too much. This is where, again, if I had a shear cold tune, I can't tweak it, but here, if I want to, I can just jump in here and tweak it. So that's, again, why I prefer to know how to tune it, use my own setups, and this way I can always mess with it. So that's really it. That is the basics of a wheelie drag tune and how I get it to work and how it actually works for me. Whoop. I don't know how I skipped the third, but that definitely killed me there. I only hit the button once. I'm on a keyboard, so my keys might be a little too sensitive. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. If you do, leave a like. If you have any comments or questions or your own insight about any of this, feel free to share in the comments. If you like this kind of videos and you want to see more in the future, subscribe, hit the bell, as I'll be putting up more specific car tunes as I make more videos. And, as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.